Hello there and welcome back. For the last few years, the automotive industry was confident about its future. The technology was chosen, the timeline was set, and anyone who was asking questions was treated like a dinosaur. But the last few months was really interesting because pressure wasn't coming from online debates. The pressure was coming from factories, real numbers and real customers. So today I want to go through 5 stories that at first look really unrelated, but together they paint a real clear picture of what is happening right now. Diesel Skoda Superb recently covered 2,800 kilometers on a single fuel tank, averaging 2.61 liter per 100 kilometers. The driver was a Polish rally driver, Miko Marcik, and this was documented as a record attempt in a production car. Now, I'm not bringing this up to say diesel beats an EV, because it's not how it really works. A long-distance economy run is not your daily life, and if you will try your best, you can make almost any drivetrain looks impressive for a single headline. The reason this story is matter is different. It's a reminder that a combustion engine was never a finished technology. It wasn't some obsolete platform waiting to be replaced. A modern diesel is technically an efficient machine that the industry stopped marketing because the future needed to look radically different. Look at the number 2.6 liters per 100 kilometers. It's not a magic, it's just optimization. Herein aerodynamics, thermodynamics, thermal efficiency, and of course driving strategy with the brutal energy density advantage of a liquid fuel. A story like Skoda didn't destroy EVs, but it does weaken the specific belief that combustion has nothing left to give. Clearly it does. And what people really underestimated wasn't the engine itself, but the pace at which old tech can still be better if you refine it. And once you accept that, a lot of the industry's recent confusion stops look like a confusion itself. It starts looking like a correction. If you want a single metaphor for the EV in that era, it might be this. Volkswagen is turning its Zwickau site into a circular economy dismantling center, starting with 500 vehicles, investing up to 19 million euro and aiming to scale dismantling capacity up to 15,000 vehicles per year by 2030. Let's pause on this, how surreal it is. Zwickau was marked as a symbol of a Volkswagen electrified future, a major EV production site, the kind of thing executives could point and say, see, the future is happening, the plan is working. Now Volkswagen is talking about dismantling center and reuse, which to be clear is automatically not a bad idea. Circular economy program can be smart, recovering materials and components, reducing dependency on a raw supply chain, building a second business model around reuse. That can be rational. But the timing would make it meaningful. This shift signals that Volkswagen is looking for stability and resilience, not just scale. It's an industrial move. Instead of betting everything on a straight line EV growth, they are building an insurance policy. Businesses that make sense in a market where demand does not grow on a command. And that's a big theme. Modern car companies didn't fail because they can't build thin. They fail when they build wrong capacity for a wrong timeline. Zwickau isn't just a Volkswagen story. It's an example of what happens when an industry confuses planning with demand. You can build factory, you can build cars, but you cannot manufacture customer behavior at the same speed you manufacture your vehicles. And once the market hesitates, the most future-facing assets becomes the most fragile ones, because they were justified by a narrative of inevitability. When the narrative weakens, the asset becomes a cost. That's why a Zwickau pivot feels like a historical moment. It's not a death of electrification. It's the end of a certainty that electrification will move as a single one wave. Now zoom out from factories and zoom to premium markets, because this is where EV narrative supposed to win first. Mercedes reported that sales fell in 2025, with pressure especially in China and USA reportedly. Separately, Porsche reported 2025 deliveries fell 10% globally and 26% in China. People love to interrupt these numbers as EV market is dead, but that's kinda lazy. Premium markets are also affected by microeconomic cycle, China's competitive market, and shift in luxury demand. The more prices interpretation is this: the premium buyer is becoming a picky again. For a few years, EV benefited from a novelty, subsidies, and a culture moment where buying an EV was treated like identity statement. But novelty fades fast. Once EV became normal, customers start to compare them with the same brutal logic they used before: resale value, long-term confidence, usability, and whether the product feels like emotionally worth the money. And the Porsche is the most interesting case, because Porsche customers are not anti-technology guys. Porsche customers will accept complexity if reward is clear. The Macan is a strong technical product, but the sales pressure, especially in China, shows that even Porsche cannot force market to follow a clean electrification script. On top of that, Volkswagen Group CEO Oliver Blume, formerly Porsche CEO, acknowledged that dropping petrol engines from a Macan strategy was a mistake, while also saying that they believed it was the right move in their time. It's the industry quietly admitting that we overestimated how fast people would accept the trade-offs. And the biggest trade-off is not a performance. EVs can be fast. The trade-off is emotional value. A lot of EVs still feels like electric appliances with expensive branding. When the buyer stops buying idea and starts buying the product, some lineups suddenly look weaker than marketing suggested. This is where the G-Wagon story becomes very powerful. Mercedes said that the demand for G-Class grew up to 23% more compared with previous year, reaching almost 50,000 delivered cars in 2025, and it's a record level demand for them, for that car especially. And the G-Wagon is not efficient, it's not an aerodynamic, it's not the future. It's a loud, heavy and noisy car, and that is exactly why it sells. Because the modern car market has a character problem. Too many cars optimized to a sameness. Smooth surfaces, blank interiors, everything hidden behind the screen. The product becomes less of a machine and more like a device. The G-Wagon is quietly opposite. It communicates identity in a half of a second. It feels permanent. You are not buying mobility, you are buying a specific kind of object. What this tells you is not people hate EVs. It tells you that people hate soulless products. And EVs have been guilty of that more often than the industry wants to admit. And the irony is that G-Wagon is not even about being anti-progress. Mercedes sells an electric G-Wagon as well, but if you will open one document, you will see that the sales of electric G-Wagon as slow as possible. That proves one point, that people don't want to buy soulless cars. And all electric cars are technically just an electric appliances. And this is why this market is splitting right now. Not everyone wants a same future. Some customers want tech-first devices, some customers want an emotional machines. Those are very different markets, and pretending they are the same is exactly what created confusion that we see right now. Now let's talk about motorsport for a moment, because it reveals how manufacturers think when their marketing isn't just one priority. Ford CEO Jim Farley described the Red Bull Formula One engine project as one of the hardest things we have ever done. And the Business Insider reported Farley framing the F1 hybrid program as a way to sharpen Ford's software and control system capability, partly in response to Chinese competition. This matters because Formula One is not just a racing vanity project anymore. It's an engineer war over complexity. Control software, energy recovery, reliability under extreme conditions, and manufacturing speed. At the same time, there was a discussion with Formula One governments about the future direction of an engines, including ideas like simplifying power units, reducing costs, and even discussing alternative concept as a V10 on sustainable fuel, so there is no consequences. What's revealing is how manufacturers responding to that. Audi, for example, signaled an opposition, abandoned the planned hybrid direction, because the 2026 hybrid regulation was central to why they entered in the first place. And this is where the hybrid relevance conversation gets uncomfortable. The hybrid component is not only about racing performance, it's also about legitimacy, a narrative bridge between track tech and road tech. The bridge is often exaggerated, but it remains strategically useful. It gives a manufacturer a reason to justify heavy investments. It gives them a story to tell a customer, even if the direct technology transfer is limited. So, even though public road market is pushed by electrification, Formula One is still tied to combustion, just wrapped in electrification norms, to align with era's messaging. Manufacturers are still building combustion-based systems at the edge of what is possible, because they still believe those systems matter, at least in some segments, for some customers, for some markets. And that takes us right back to the beginning of this video. Not one future, but multiple futures. And if you step back, none of these stories are dramatic on their own. A diesel Skoda and underutilized factory, softening sales numbers, a boxy SUV doing well, and an argument about hybrid engines in Formula One. Together, those stories suggest something simple. The future isn't being rejected, it's being negotiated. Not by press releases and by awards, but by usage, economic, and quiet consumer behavior. And that negotiation is far more interesting than any absolute prediction. Anyway, I'm Hugo, drive safe and see you in the next video.